Says avoid legal snags by telling people they're being recorded. Welcome to Practical Shooting After Dark.
You get quiet. I know it's coming. I'm like, oh, just back off here.
Yes, you'll stop discussing all that bigoted things you were discussing before.
That's me, yes.
That is 100% you.
Actually, just hating on your haircut was about the sum of it, but
it's not. You're not hating. I didn't get a haircut, so you can't hate on it.
Lack of haircut.
Man, I thought you'd be nice to me today. I agreed to come to shoot your dumb matches with you.
I'm excited about that. It'll be fun.
Oh, yes. Which ones are you shooting?
Oklahoma section, and what's the other one? Great Plains.
Well, the cat's out of the bag now. I was planning on not telling anyone and just be like, "Hey, did you see who squad with us?" I'll be like, "No, who?"
Dude, your sense of reality is a little skewed. The cat's out of the bag about 3 weeks from now.
Oh, all right. Well, that's true.
So don't worry. Your secret's safe.
I was planning on. I was gonna text Cody and say like, "Hey, we're gonna have this. You mind if we bring one more person with us?" And he'd be like, "I don't know. I guess. Who is it?" I'm like, oh, it's just this Ben guy.
No, just send a picture of like some like stripper or something.
That wouldn't fit though. He'd know like that's not me. So
could be a male stripper.
Hard pass.
You don't have to bring this. You could just send the picture anyway. Yeah. So Tyler, a hole opened up in my schedule due to, well, certain places making it difficult for me to get a gun permit. So today was the drop dead date for that trip, where it's like if there's not a permit in my hand, I'm not buying a plane ticket, and I need something else to go do. So
out of country, I assume.
Yes. Yeah. So I'd rather have certainty on my calendar than like, hey, I don't know if I can do this thing. I don't know if it's going to work out.
Yeah. So instead, we're going to shoot a section match on Saturday and a different one on Sunday. And they're only about 6 hours apart, so it won't be bad.
Is that how far it is?
Yeah. Ish. So it'll be good.
Is that bad?
Sounds like a good time to me.
No, it's not bad at all.
I mean, you pack in two level 2 matches in a weekend. Sounds like a good weekend.
It's not going to be bad. There's no way it's going to suck. I have to decide what division I'm shooting before I go. Not really sure what I'm doing yet.
What about L10?
Sort it out. L10
minor.
The minor.
Yeah, that's the deal. I might do that. I'll see what I can talk Hoppy Cakes into.
No, I need him in production.
You need him in production? I could go in production with like a Glock. Would that annoy you?
It wouldn't annoy me. No, I'd be happy to have you there. I'm just happy you're coming along. It'll be fun.
Oh, Joel, you're such a nice guy.
I don't care what you shoot. You can shoot a high point. It doesn't matter to me. You do you.
I vote L10 minor with a Glock for sure.
I shoot a Glock pretty well, Tyler. I'll have you know.
I know. I don't doubt that at all.
Yeah.
Zero doubt.
All right. So let's move on to the productive conversation. I don't really have, well, I mean, I have a lot of topics I could discuss, but what I want to talk about is the USPSA elections that are upcoming. Does that sound good, guys?
Yeah.
So quite infamously, maybe that's the best word. The last time the elections came around, we had all the candidates on, except for one guy that really didn't want to get elected. Everybody came on, and we had a very productive interview with everyone. And non-listeners of the show, like non-regulars, they listened to that stuff and found it productive and helpful for them making a voting decision. I think what I'm saying so far is pretty uncontroversial, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So the question is, should we do that again? And this isn't just a question for you guys. This would be stuff where I would sort of like some listener feedback. So if a couple people take the time to email me something intelligent and intelligible, that would be nice, because I'm not really sure how to handle it. You get where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Are you thinking basically the same format as last time, where you have the candidates on for interviews?
My inclination is to do nothing. Is to not have anybody on for interviews and and not get involved and not do anything. And I'm pretty jaded at this point. Like I don't care too much about the elections. There's really nothing. I mean, but that being said, nobody's really running. We've got two guys running, Foley and another guy that we don't know, like Mike Valentine.
Mike Valentine.
I don't know him.
I don't either.
So, and the reason I'm not caring that much about the election is, I don't know. I mean, I think, well, I personally feel hoodwinked about the last time. So I'm not sure how productive it would be to do those interviews. And then I'm also personally, I'm in a tough spot because I'm conflicted out of being in on the Foley interview. So if somebody interviews him on this show, it's not going to be me. I wouldn't sit down. I wouldn't have anything to do with it. And that would just be to not, color it. I'd want it to be fair. So that, I don't know. It's an interesting situation. It's kind of it's a strange setup. So if people have some suggestions on what they want done, yeah, I'm open. I'm all ears. I'm listening. That having been said, you guys have any ideas?
I don't know. I guess the only thing that would make me more interested is, like if you're, let's say it's the presidential elections, like for the U.S., you're like, well, this one's, for gun control, this one's against, or whatever big topics, you have. It's like, what do I really, is there like some big issue that I'm really for or against? But it's like, what topics would they have that would be controversial that one really wants and the other one doesn't want? Or you know what I mean? If it's just a matter of like how they run a business or organizational stuff, maybe track, I don't know. It's like, how much does that carry over to USPSA? Like, what would be the main things that I would really care about listening to that would make me make a decision one way or the other? And I guess that would be my big,
All right. So that's interesting. You should say that. So the last election was run on those issues.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not really the issues that we would run on now, right?
Correct.
That we'd be interested in now. As far as me personally, I am far closer to the end of my competitive USPSA career than I am the beginning of it. So, like if things go sideways in the next 5 years, like I'm not going to be happy about that, but I'll be retiring from the competitive part of shooting anyway at some point. And it won't really affect me a whole lot. Like if it's not fun anymore, it's shitted up in some way, then I'll go do something else. So that's why I'm kind of like, nah, this doesn't. It's difficult to really get too wound up when I'm not sure what's going to change with an election, and I'm not sure if it matters what somebody comes on here and says. Okay, so I'm looking at Mike Valentine, and I don't know this guy. I don't even know if I've met him. Probably a nice guy, but here's what he's written down that he wants to do. Revamp the RO core, make it more beneficial to be an RO that is actually working matches. Make nationals more important. Create more clubs and support the existing clubs. Print the rule books. Fix the classification system. Build membership benefits. That's what he's written. I don't see, that's his post. There's no details on any of that. So obviously there's a lot of fodder for conversation in there. There'd be a lot of interesting questions to ask. Right?
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that'd be a good guy to come on and have him interviewed. But
here's the thing: if there's going to be a fleshing out of the candidates, it's going to happen on this show in this venue. It's not going to happen anywhere else. It's going to happen on Brian Eno's forum.
That's interesting. You should bring that up.
No,
because,
no, it's not.
Cody wants to do it.
Yeah, I saw that.
You don't want Cody to do it?
I do want Cody. I want Joel and Cody both to do it. But so I'll rephrase. Shoot Pass podcast or on here. That's where these candidates are going to get fleshed out.
Right. And
pressed on the issues.
Right. So I would be happy to, well, not super happy, but I'd be willing to do it and ask some tough questions. I would be willing to talk to Foley on here and ask some tough questions, but he would be pretty dumb to come on and do it. And people would not view it as objective. I'm fair, but I'm not objective when it comes to Mike for pretty obvious reasons. So yes, it's a tough situation for me. like that I'm in. Because Tyler, I'm sure a lot of people will be like, hey, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen on your show. Well, you are echoing a lot of people's sentiment, right?
I would think so.
Yes. But as far as Mike getting what would appear to an outsider to be a fair shake, can't really happen with me doing it. You know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah, I get that.
So
I
I'm
guess
curious.
Go
I
ahead.
want to see if other people are going to hop in the race. I thought it would kind of be a wide open, just given the circumstances and the state of things. But if it's just Foley and Valentine, then I'm not sure it's going to be much of a race.
yeah, it's
Frankly,
that's another issue. It's not that interesting. Nobody's running who's really saying interesting things. Who wants to do
Yeah.
something different?
I mean, the last election was really interesting because you had different personalities, a lot of like really different views of the sport and where to take things. That was around the time they were talking about production optics. There was a lot going on. That was an interesting race.
It was, but
And this one is not
were
so far.
are the issues that you? How about this? If people are running a really contentious race now, it wouldn't be on the issues that were discussed last time, or like the stuff that has happened. A lot of it was not discussed.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So I'm afraid that we're going to get more of that because I didn't really like that, and it was kind of was that my fault? Maybe. Like, did I not ask the right questions? I don't know.
Well, speaking for the Shoot Fast podcast side, I guess a little bit. Cody made that post.
I'm sure you don't want anything to do with this shit show, Joe.
I'll be honest. My text conversation with Cody was, I guess I care, but I really don't care in a way. Like, to me, I'm more interested in talking about getting better or training and who's running for president. Yeah, well, I understand it could affect me, where if production 15 was a thing as opposed to production 10, or I don't know, they changed like the rules in some way that it could affect me, or the classification system. Maybe there's stuff that I would care about, but overall it's like I'm kind of more worried about like training and getting better and learning than kind of wasting my time with that. But I understand why, like, yeah, it's my sport too, so I should be concerned about, like the big things happening. But overall, I can kind of take it or leave it, like, to be quite honest, just speaking for me.
Well, yes, I'm interested in training and shooting and getting better, and that's all I've been doing the last few years is like training,
Yeah.
shooting, getting better.
Yeah.
I'm having the time of my life. I'm having a great time doing USPSA. They're not going to change a rule that's going to affect that in the short term, and
That's kind of my thoughts.
yes. As far as the long term, Tyler, what's your view of the sport as far as the long term trajectory here?
Oh, man, I don't know. Like, narrow it down a little bit. What do you?
Okay, so do you like where USPSA is headed, or maybe you're not sure where it's headed. I'm not really sure where it's headed 100%. But do you are you satisfied with the rules and the kind of the situation with the sport?
Yeah, I think, and going back to the last election, I think the consensus was and is between the beats, so to speak. Like, the shooting itself, fantastic. We've got probably the best rule set, the best competition. We are the premier pistol shooting sport. Nothing comes close.
Right.
That part is great. Are there issues that need to be resolved? Things we could do better? Sure. But
well, let me say this. My view of it's kind of like I'm with you on that. This is this sport is the sport. So if you're like, hey, who's the best handgun shooters? Where are they at? It's you go to USPSA to find out who those people are. That is for sure. Now, there's some jobs I do or some jobs I go to where I meet guys that are really like old school shooting instructors, and it's like, hey Ben, you're a competitive shooter. You going to Bianchi Cup this year? I'm like, no, sir. I am 20 years too young to give a shit about that. You see, you're laughing because that's laugh. Like, why would it? You're right because you're like, no, that's not the thing anymore. If that was the thing, it's not the thing anymore. Now it's this USPSA thing. That's how we sort it out. It's not Steel Challenge. That's over with. As far as being like the competitive venue that the top guys go to test themselves, Steel Challenge is over. Maybe you think I'm not saying it's not fun, or if you like it, that's totally fine. But as far as it being the sport where the dudes go, it's over. IDPA, it's over. It's over with. That's why, like, we don't go, well, I don't come on here and bitch about IDPA rules because it's irrelevant. It's over. It's done with. Because USPSA is the thing. Do I see that? I don't foresee a situation where that changes. I don't foresee anything else taking over for US. Like, hey, where the best pistol shooters at? They're in USPSA. I just don't see how that would change. So, yeah, that's kind of the track it's on. There's stuff in USPSA that's annoying. There's stuff that's annoying about the leadership. The I would say inability to comprehend events as they're unfolding and alter the track of events or alter the track of the rules of the sport to respond to events. That's kind of lame. Specifically, like the division rules we have are kind of a shit show. Would you say, Tyler?
Yeah, I think
got too many divisions.
Oh, too many for sure.
Yeah, we got too many divisions.
Yeah.
Then there's other stuff. There's kind of more subtle things happening that I think are interesting, and I don't really hear people talking about. Like, here's an interesting thing. What do you make of the propensity for people to go to dot guns? Like, limited and production are less popular than they were, with open and carry optics increasing in popularity. Now, I would look at that and I think more people are putting dots on their guns, more people are trying something new. And then the other part of that is the way that we're viewing results now on practice score is it's overall first. Would you say? Yeah. It's overall first, and that's going to kind of put a tilt on it to get guns that bump you up in the overall. And it's a real subtle nudge that people get, but over the course of years, that kind of it changes people's thinking, especially when we have so many divisions where what's going on in your particular division may not be relevant at the match. So all you really have to go off is overall. So that to me is interesting to start thinking about that. And it's like, hey, is that what we want? Do we want to change that? Or do we like that? Should we just, should we tilt things more towards overall? Should we start handing out overall trophies at major matches? That'd be an interesting discussion, but I don't really hear people talking about it.
It's almost coming full circle where it used to be like there's one division. Yeah, everyone's heads up. It's almost kind of a return to that, but based on division choice and the gun shot instead of basically like you've only got one type of gun.
Yeah, you've only got one choice. Yeah. Right. So. Now, I don't like I don't like the overall thing is kind of silly to me.
Yeah, it's fake. There's no such thing.
It's no such thing, but
there's no such thing as overall.
That's how we always view results.
Yeah.
And it didn't used to be that way.
Yeah.
So
you're saying because the default match result display and practice score.
Yeah.
Instead of populating by,
not just the default. That didn't used to be an option.
Really?
Before practice score, there was not an easy way before practice score, there was not an easy way to find out the overall results.
Right. Unless you did the
you remember
manually.
Those days.
Yes.
There was a website like overallresults.com or something or combinedresults.org maybe. There was some website that would pull results from USPSA and shit them out onto this other site where you could actually see the overall results. Like, it was a complicated piece of information to obtain if you were interested. But that has since changed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's an interesting thing to think about. And it's also a function of like, hey, we have so many divisions where it's like, let's say you're a real serious limited shooter, but everybody in your club is shooting open and PCC. All you really have is the combined results.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that anything should be done. I'm just, it's an interesting conversation that I don't really hear people having.
And did that account for a lot of the popularity of PCC when it came out? Like, was it the genuine interest of shooting the rifle and learning a different gun, or was it chasing that high overall?
Well, there you go. So, I mean, that stuff's interesting to me. Like, I don't love that, but that is the way it is. So, yeah. Well, anyway, right now, the track USPSA is on. It's still going to be the thing in 10 years. But, if something else came along that was better, I don't know what that would be or what that would look like. I can't even really envision it because there's a lot right with USPSA. The stuff that's wrong is kind of like having dumb divisions, to which people would say, why do you tell other people what to shoot?
Yeah, how does it affect you? Why is it any of your
I saw
business?
you made an interesting post
Yeah.
about that on Facebook. How does it affect you? Well, it's more like you're telling me what to recognize. You're like, when you're handing out awards, you're deciding what is worthy of achievement and what's not. And what I say, I probably said it on here before. Trophies and awards, they're kind of like money. Like, it's worth what's printed on the face, but the more you print, the less all of them are worth, if that makes sense.
Dude, that's deep.
It's a lot like inflation in that way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many matches where it's like, even this is a national champion, or how about this Steel Challenge World Championship? Like, I'm not taking a shit on anybody who goes and shoots Steel Challenge, but like a Steel Challenge World Championship is not remotely in the same league as like an IPSC World Championship. It's just not the same thing, just because of the level of talent involved. But people are very comfortable saying, yeah, it's world championship. It's a world title. It's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, but is it? When
That's
I
like,
say, but is it? I'm like, nah, not really.
yeah, it's like baseball World Series, but only
Only people
only
from
Americans get to.
I mean, it's
Maybe one Canadian. We'll let one Canadian team in.
yeah. So anyway, that stuff is that stuff's interesting. And then there's always the conversation of what would you do with the division rules if you could do whatever you'd want. Any ideas about that, Tyler? Like, what would you do if you could do anything you want?
King for a day.
You know
King
what?
for-
I was thinking about this earlier today for some reason. This may surprise you, but what if instead of killing L10, you keep L10 and just stuff single stack and revolver in that?
Well, then you're effectively killing single stack and revolver at the same time and having L10, but it's not really like interesting still. If I were
Instead
king,
of-
I would kill all three, like probably instantaneously. Like single stacks on the bubble, but like L10 and Revo would be like taken out behind the barn and Old Yeller immediately.
Yeah, I have no problem. That's just one idea. I have no problem killing L10. Certainly not revolver. I mean, when you only get 37 people to show up at your national championship, there's a problem. I don't know. Maybe for sentimental reasons. I
Are
don't
you
know.
sentimental about revolvers?
No. For single stack, I don't shoot single stack, but I don't know. I would like some place for them to play. I've seen it suggested rolling production and single stack together. I don't like that. I really don't like that at all. But back to the origins of the sport and everything. I don't know.
Is that? Yeah. Well, I would. I've got one for you. What do you think about a trigger pull test in production?
I've got no problem with that as long as it
It's fair, right? A fair
yeah,
one.
like the new IPSC rules.
Yes, I think that's a great. That's way better.
Great. That is fantastic. Got no problem with that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think instead of having, like, if they don't want to police who has like what parts and triggers in there, you just have this one test where it's like, hey, if your gun is like bullshit light trigger, like it doesn't pass this. If your trigger's like shenanigans, it goes away. Yeah.
I think it's good for, not that I think it's a real concern, but it's one more thing the org can point to for liability reasons.
I mean, I guess.
I mean, if they want to. I mean, you still got open with 1.5 pound triggers or whatever, but it's just one more thing. But yeah, the door's kind of open for that with the revisions of the production rules anyway, to move to like a triple test where we're not regulating now aftermarket versus OEM parts. So,
well, anyway, those are always discussions about what you do for the what you would do for the rules, So that stuff's interesting to me. Not that I would necessarily do it. I don't like them doing a whole lot of shit. What's up? So this presidential candidate that wants them to print the rule books. Why is that? Is that like I've seen a few people talking about that online. Why don't they have printed rule books? Has there been a reason?
Is it maybe so you don't have an old version? You always have the most new version? Because if you have like hyperlinks to their
They
website,
change them, it makes sense that they'd want to print them.
maybe if you just
I
hyperlink.
was laughing. That wasn't even a joke.
I know. That's the stated reason, though, which is if it's evergreen, whatever version is on your app is now the current app, or whatever version is on the site is now, up to the minute, versus before where, you had all these addenda and interpretations and rule changes, and you had an email or a private message from the Enos forum.
Because they changed because I guess they do more. I think they're really not addressing the problem, which would be how frequently they change the rules. But that's just me. So
what do you have a preference on printed versus unprinted rule books?
If it was me, I would have them. I made an offer to a guy, like I'll print them. Like if USPSA, I could have them up for sale for no profit for the organization, but no loss.
Mm-hmm.
Could have them up for sale on Amazon. I don't know if they'd be like $4.
Yeah.
$5. I don't know. Have them up for sale on Amazon and have a few thousand copies sent to the organization inside of 7 days. Done. Easy. It doesn't cost any money and it's not that complicated. It essentially costs no money. It's just a matter of, if you know what you're doing, you can get it done. It's not hard. If to me, like, I don't understand not having a printed rule book. If people want it, you just say what version it is on it.
Yeah.
But again, this is me talking. This is just me talking. I don't know.
Yeah. Apart from the logistics of printing and getting it to everyone, if I'm working on stage,
Tyler, I'm an idiot, dude. Like, I can get this done. This is not hard.
But even apart from all that, I'm just saying, like, if I'm working a stage at a major, I want a physical copy in my hands. I'm not going to use an app to look up the rules. I want.
I just aesthetically prefer physical copies of everything. But again, this is me talking. If you want to change the rules all the time, I guess the app makes more sense.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, the larger point here is this is a discussion that would be fun to have with people that are running for president. It's a little bit complicated if we do it on here for fairly obvious reasons. And I personally am not that invested in this at this point because, well, we don't have us a race yet, do we?
Not yet.
Not that I'm aware of.
No. So that's where it is. It would be fun if somebody came in with a vision, somebody with a real sales pitch. Like, hey, we're gonna like pull the pin on USPSA multi-gun. That's not going to be a thing anymore. We're going to smoke this, and this division. We're going to bifurcate how the sports run. So level 2 and above is like this. Club matches will be like this. It's going to be this whole different thing. We're going to print rule books. Or like somebody came in with a real sales pitch. That would be interesting. This, no disrespect to Mr. Mike Valentine, but make nationals more important as one of your selling points is difficult for me to get behind, because nationals is
Already important.
like
isn't
the
it?
most important thing that I do. So I don't know what that means. And create more clubs is clubs create themselves. You don't need to create more. They'll do it themselves.
Yeah, talk to me about popper calibration. Now we're
Talk to me
talking.
about popper, like that would be interesting.
Here's my idea that no one's going to sign off on is you just get rid of all big poppers. Gone. You never use them again. All there is just minis. Because if you're
off on that,
going to have a problem, it's going to be a big popper, and it's going to be, like halfway through the match, the ground's wet or it's gravel or dirt and it's settling, and one end's, gets too low or it's not even anymore. And then somebody shoots 40 and it's fine. Maybe somebody shoots minor and it's not fine, or maybe you hit it right in the calibration zone, it doesn't fall. RO comes over, they shoot it again, it falls. What do you know? Like, you already know how the story ends. You just smoke those. Gone. Never use them again. Revamp the classifiers that have it. Problem solved. Minis just don't. I don't see the problem with minis being calibrated. Done.
well, see, Joel, maybe you should run.
I knew you were going to say that. No, thank you, sir. Hard pass.
You're kind of the right personality. You're pretty reasonable and you're nice. People like you.
Yeah, you do have the right temperament for the job.
I do not get fired up very often. No.
What do the bylaws say about a write-in campaign?
I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Does the write-in have to be willing?
Listen, everybody on the internet, write in Joel Park.
No, we should start this new Facebook page like Draft Joel Park.
Yeah. I'll get
Because
right on that.
I'm honored, but I do not accept the nomination. Thank you.
What would you do with the director of NROI?
No comment.
You're perfect, Joel. You should run.
Sorry, all questions must be submitted in form of writing, please.
Or you're already out of the game. Like, you could do the Foley strategy of like, well, I'm going to list all information and be reasonable and make a reasonable decision. That's a good strategy. Get elected. Anyway. All right. Tyler,
Yes, sir.
what do you got? What's going on?
Powerade Zero. I like your style, sir.
Oh yeah,
Making smart life choices.
definitely. This is a good segue. Actually, you mentioned it in kind of your monologue back there.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've never really discussed after the fact. I've never really there was some drama on the internet a while back, as people might recall, when I was temporarily banned from the sport. I never came out swinging about that. That day will come, but it's going to be a little closer to the election. And I'm like that's burning inside me a little bit. That day will come. But anyway, that's kind of why I'm like rambling a little bit, Tyler, because I'm thinking like, nope, hold it in, Ben. Just hold it back, because there'll be a better time. There will be a better day for this. But it's not today. Anyway, go ahead, Tyler.
I wanted to. This is kind of out of left field, but USPSA multigun. And I don't shoot multigun. I don't shoot 3-gun. Never have. But there's been a lot of chatter about it that I kind of thought was interesting, and it applies to USPSA as a whole. Mike Foley was on a different podcast recently with a prominent 3-gunner discussing USPSA multigun, and the impression I get is that there's a desire in USPSA, at least in leadership, to expand USPSA multigun. I think historically, really the only match that's held under the USPSA multigun rule set is the Nationals. Basically one match a year, kind of like IPSC pistol shooting in the U.S. But
it's not a thing.
Yeah. it was raised issue of IPSC World Shoot for Rifle, and World Shoot for
Oh my
Shotgun.
God, about this.
Selection policies and stuff like that, and lacking a series of qualifiers, a difficult selection process for those matches. And so I think there's a desire to do several things: to expand the multi-gun RO cadre, to possibly create or run qualifier matches under the USPSA rule set. The problem seems to be that 3-gun guys hate USPSA rules. They don't like, I mean, I participated in one thread in one of the 3-gun Facebook groups, which
You spend too much time running your mouth on Facebook, Tyler. And I shoot my mouth out a lot.
Let me tell you something. That was a huge waste of time.
Why?
I'll just say it was a huge waste of time.
No, I mean, what they hate USPSA rules for?
Is it like hit factor versus the time plus? Is that
Look, I'm the wrong guy to ask about the rules for one, but I think it's time plus. I think it's pretty much time plus. But their primary problem seems to be with the safety rules, because it's too stringent. I can't load my shotgun. Everything has to be under the supervision of an RO. These guys hate that. They want to be able to load their shotgun, load their rifle, whatever, take their pistol off in the holster, reposition, all this other stuff. And
it's okay, Tyler.
And
you could say all 7 of George Carlin's words on here. All of them. It's all good.
And when I would interact with these guys, it's so much pushback. Like, they want USPSA to change instead of they're from the outlaw mentality.
Well,
and
Tyler, here's the deal though. It's like, if I move to California, do you think I'm going to change, or I'll tell California they should make some changes to their laws? You know what I'm saying? What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, but so what's your thought on that? Like,
fuck them. That's my thought.
No, but as far as like, I do think it's important, because USPSA is the member region of IPSC for the United States. And I would like to see us be represented at the various world shoots, just like Pistol. So, and it seems to me like up to this point, it's kind of just been a strange ad hoc way of making U.S. teams. So is there a good solution? And
yes.
And are you okay with USPSA diverting resources to multi-gun instead of handgun?
Well, you had the conversation yourself. USPSA multi-gun is like, those guys don't want USPSA rules, which is totally okay. So USPSA should, like, USPSA is not a thing in multi-gun. Like, if somebody wants to go and make it a thing for multi-gun, it wouldn't be our current president, because it's not one of those guys. And it wouldn't be me, it wouldn't be you. You'd have to pick the right guy and craft the right rule set that works for USPSA and works for multi-gun shooters. But you essentially have a culture in 3-gun of having a lot of different rule sets. That's the way the culture is. And I think the horse is out of the barn in terms of changing that, and I don't see the upside to changing it. It's kind of like, I mean, there's as much upside in changing that situation as there is downside in a USPSA club disaffiliating from USPSA, deviating from the USPSA rule set and doing their own thing. Is that a lot of downside to an organization like USPSA? No, I don't think so, because the shooters can still go to other clubs and do their thing. So kind of everybody can do their thing if they want. And these guys want to do their thing, but they want slots to these matches. So that's kind of what I'm understanding.
Yep. That's exactly the issue.
Right. And they should do their thing and get slots to the matches. I agree. I mean, that's totally fine. I think USPSA shouldn't do a USPSA multi-gun nationals with the current situation. I think it's a waste of time. They shouldn't even do it. Yeah, fuck it, not do it. But they'd still hand out those slots. The problem is the selection process. They should have a more just have a selection committee and have guys submit applications and have have a process to pick the best dudes to win the match. That's it. Some guys will feel jilted, but that's all right. Like the same situation occurred this year when I got a slot for the Europeans. So their USPSA got 4 slots to the European Handgun Championships this year. There's no process in place for slots. There's no process. You know what I mean? Like this has not been an issue in the past because last Europeans we got 6 slots and we used 3. So for IPSC giving us 4 slots, it seemed like plenty. The problem was 10 people wanted slots. So we all sent emails like, hey, we want our slots. USPSA is like, oh shit, like we don't have a system for that. Like, so they created a thing. Now, this is not something that leadership was comfortable with because this is a thing where it's like no area director took a vote on how this went down, I don't think. It's just like they just had to do something. You know what I mean? So something had to be done. They did something, which was you send in an application. We're going to pick a few people. We'll apply for more slots, and then we'll, go down our list. So I sent hey, this is why I want this slot. Yes, I'm going to go if I get it. This is my qualifications for this slot, and that's it. And the slots are distributed based on that. So it may not have been a perfectly objective system, but I can't say it was unfair. So if that's what gets done for future multi-gun events, I don't think that's the end of the world. That's certainly far easier than trying to build a grassroots sport from the top down, because that's not the way those things work. The grassroots in 3-gun wants to do what they want to do, which is totally fine, but it doesn't involve being tied into a big organization. So that's what I think. What do you say, Tyler?
Yeah, well, I think that's fine. I think you got to either be all in or all out,
Like Steel Challenge?
Yeah, I think that's a really good example because for a long time, USPSA owned Steel Challenge and basically did nothing with it. It just languished and there was no growth and it was pretty pitiful, actually. And then they got basically the Steel Challenge czar, Zach Jones, on it. And Steel Challenge is really growing. And I think it's really high quality part under the USPSA umbrella. And so my feeling is I want America represented at the various world shoots. I want us to go and crush face.
Well, people are going to take care of that themselves, right? You just have to give them a spot to do it.
Yeah. I think you got to be all in or all out. You either got to do it up to the USPSA standard, or why are we doing this? Outlaw and the other sanctioning bodies have got this. I think you're kind of right too, which is with the culture of 3-gun. I think at this point it might be a little incompatible with the rigidity of USPSA. I don't know. I don't know the answer to this.
Well, no, it's the same as if I go to an IDPA club that's full of guys who are like really, they're kind of laid back. They don't train a whole lot. And, they're like setting up their stuff. And, I would run through the stage and shoot as aggressive as I can. And some guys in the club just, they don't like that, They just don't like it. They don't know why they don't like it, but they don't like it. It's the same as like, I don't give a shit if guys load their shotguns without an RO supervising. To be honest with you, I don't really care. But, like it's not something that I would do anything about. And that wouldn't stop me from going to a USPSA match if I wanted to do USPSA. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, you got to watch me load my shotgun. It's like, all right, like, here we go. So it's like, it just doesn't work for them, and that's fine. I don't think you need to be all like the attitude in USPSA to be all things to all people, like makes no sense to me. It should be perfectly fine to just be like, yeah, we don't do multi-gun.
Mm-hmm.
Because to tell you the truth, USPSA doesn't do multi-gun. We do multi-gun like we do revolver. Like it is a thing that's on the menu, I suppose, but not really. And then handing out the slots is a secondary concern. You just have to have a couple people in the know who gets the slots, and then who know who the dudes are, and make sure the dudes get the slots.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, that's the way it works in every other region. Every other IPSC region, that's the way it works. There's people who know who get the slots, and they might set up an objective system, but then there's always somebody who can go in there and put a tilt on it. The same as our system is set up to be objective, but the guys running it can always go in and twist things to make sure that the guy that they want, they can get him. There's always leeway built into it for that. So there might be a guy that didn't shoot the right matches or maybe DQ'd from one of them or something, but you're like, hey, this is the guy that gives us the best shot of getting a medal. Mm-hmm. So we're going to put this guy on, and like the guy who was fourth place in the points, we're going to, fuck that guy off and, and take this guy. That's the way it works everywhere. I mean, I'm not saying I love it or that it's perfect, but it's just the way that these things work. I'm guessing that the main point from this other thing was that USPSA did a piss poor job of picking people for the teams for the shotgun shoot.
I believe what happened was the guy who ended up winning world champ at the shotgun world shoot was not actually on the U.S. team, thus costing the U.S. team the gold medal. He won the overall, but didn't count towards the Americans' team points. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I believe, like I said, I'm not up on this. I mean,
no, I'm not up on it.
This is all as a very casual observer.
I'm a casual observer, but I think I'd speak for a lot of guys who do, like, I do USPSA pistol stuff, and it's like I look at the USPSA Nationals calendar or like this, the bullshit that HQ puts out, and it's like we're doing multi-gun nationals, and it's like, I don't care about this. Like, you guys, do what you want, but this is not something that I care about. I just don't. So it's like one more event that they have to put on that just increases their fatigue and increases their logistical headaches. So if we want them to do something really interesting for like a handgun nationals event, it's not going to happen because they're bogged down with all this bullshit like, oh, we need a steel nationals. Well, we need a steel world shoot. Well, we need a multi-gun nationals. Oh, we got too many divisions, so we got to split nationals up. So instead of getting a really interesting event at a place I've never even heard of, like we're fucking doing nationals in Wakanda. Like, sweet, that sounds awesome. I'm gonna go there. Instead of something super cool, it's like, hey, we're doing everything in Florida and a little bit in Utah, same as always, and it's gonna be we're gonna kind of phone it in for all of it. It'll all be a nationals, but we're gonna phone it in for all of it.
That's kind of an interesting analogy too. Like, you shoot 3-gun, you got pistol, rifle, shotgun, and you could be, pretty good at all of it. USPSA has got pistol, which are fantastic at, steel challenge, fantastic, multi-gun, pretty crappy. Like, be consolidated on just those two under your brand. You'd be the best at what you do.
Well, I'm just saying it creates a big nightmare because it's like I've had conversations with USPSA leadership. It's like, hey, why can't we do this at this time? Like, oh no, we got nationals coming up, and there's other events that they have too, where it's like then there's SHOT Show, there's NRA annual meeting, there's a lot of crap that the leadership feels they have to go to, So it just puts a strain on. I mean, we only have a few shot callers as far as people that can do things, and they tend to be busy a lot. And I don't want our shot callers busy phoning in a multi-gun nationals, If it could make our pistol nationals 15% better if they don't have to piss around with the multi-gun nationals, I would take that trade all day. And to be honest, do multi-gun shooters care that much about USPSA nationals?
I think the guys at the very top, because
It's another chance to get a title.
it's
That's all it is.
Yep.
It's not like they're passionate about the sport or the rule set. Like they're going to, in their view, they're probably eating a little bit of shit in order to get a shot at a title.
Yeah, I think they would much rather shoot, one of the prominent outlaw matches. And I can't name them, but
Neither can I. But
I think
but
as far
can-
as enjoyment, they would much rather shoot some other match. But yeah, you're right. It's a shot at a national title.
Yeah, it's the same reason, it's the same reason why guys go to revolver nationals, right? It's like, well, I got this thing. I don't shoot it other times, but here we go. Like, well, all right. You're real quiet, Joel.
I don't have anything really to comment or add to the conversation.
Oh.
Yeah. Sorry to disappoint.
This is probably my first time really talking USPSA shop in a while.
This is.
Yeah. So you see why I'm such a cynical, jaded fuck. Like, it's like, yeah, they're just gonna keep doing what they're doing because participation, baby, because revenue,
Numbers.
numbers. We need those numbers. Let's go. All right, Joel. Hey, Tyler, you feel like you're ready to move on?
Oh yeah. I've talked enough about multi-gun to last me a long time.
Yeah. Okay. So I had a conversation with Ben recently that really spoke to me. I've put a focus on speed in the last couple of years, and shooting jailbait or even pedo, I suppose you'd call them splits, it's pretty easy for me. It doesn't take a lot of effort. So the cost of it is that it's often dropping too many points for having a little bit faster time. So Ben recommended doing more hit factor scoring in practice, and I have been learning a lot from
I
it.
think I put a video up in training groups similar, along a
Yes.
similar vein, the opposite angle, but a similar vein.
Yeah, that was very good. Yeah. So it's been eye-opening to see the small amount of time that it cost me to back off the throttle like just a tick and shoot better points. And it's easy to have your perception of time skewed while you're shooting. So scoring drills and hit factor scoring has taught me to trust the math more than what I feel, maybe. It's still something I'm working on, but I feel like it's been really beneficial. I've learned a lot. So anyway, that's what I've been working on. It's early in the year still. And I'm just wondering what you guys are doing in your current personal training, what your focuses are, learning anything, testing anything that you'd be comfortable sharing, what you guys have been up to,
Wait, your topic is for us to give you what our
No,
topic.
I just told you what I'm doing. Like, do you have anything you've been working on? Or you can
Yeah.
pick apart my topic. It's up to you.
We're working on a lot of really interesting things that you don't even know.
That's why I asked you if you'd be comfortable sharing
No.
them.
No, I fucking.
But anyway, that's what I've been up to. I've learned a lot. So that was very sound advice.
Well, thank you, Joel. Let me think of what I've been working on. I've been on the road a lot. I'm trying to think of what I've been doing.
We
What
had
can
a
I-
video. You had a video that was interesting that you dropped in training group on Friday. The aggression one. That was pretty interesting and
That's
taking
what I was
risks.
saying was
That's,
similar.
taking risks.
Yes.
That is a fantastic video.
Well,
I
thank
liked
you.
it too.
That was awesome.
I wrote it, directed it, and edited it myself.
The other video I liked was Gaston's video about hit factor also. I did like that also. A different way where he was talking about like depending on your hit factor, maybe having maybe almost drawing a circle on the target or having an acceptable area depending on what the hit factor was. I thought that was interesting also.
Well, that's one thing that I always try to work on it myself, and I think about it every time I shoot. I guess it highlights in my head whenever I'm shooting partial targets or when I'm shooting limited. Like the last trip I was on, well, I brought 4 guns. So I had 2 production guns, 2 limited guns with me, and I just went back and forth, back and forth. So one day production, one day limited. Back and forth like that. And whenever I'm shooting limited, it's like I'm always telling myself like, hey, doesn't fucking matter how many C's you have. Like, let's go. Like, full send all the time. And just basically understanding how the scoring works is you would think it's basic. You would think everybody understands it, but most people don't. I mean not intellectually be able to understand it. You're like, you can do the math on it and be like, oh, well, this hit factor is higher than this one. That's not what I mean by understanding. By understanding, I mean like, like in your bones, how to approach things that's going to get you the best score. And that's something you should always be thinking about. It's like, hey, what's the way to approach this shooting problem? A good example is like if I'm shooting a different test. So let's say I might occasionally shoot a qualification. That's like some agency or group has this qualification. Did we lose Tyler's video?
Nope, he's still good for me. You stalled or like buffered for just a second, but
screen froze.
But you're good now.
That's sad. But anyway, I might occasionally shoot a qualification or a test for some group. And before I do it, it's like, hey, what are the rules of the game? You know what I mean? Like, what are the rules? Like, is it like it's a par time? We're scoring the points. If you do this particular thing, you fail. Something like that. Like understanding the rules of the game before you play is really important. Mm-hmm. And what you'll find with hit factor scoring, it's one of the most interesting and frustrating things about it. And one of the reasons why USPSA is far better than multi-gun is that the rules of the game change a little bit on every stage. Mm-hmm. They really do. The rules of the game it's always a little different. It's like every stage is a new thing where you look at it, you're like, hey, if I sit here all day shooting extra shots at this piece of steel, it's going to fuck me up. And the way this thing is set up, it's going to kind of induce that mistake. Or, hey, the targets are real close and there's a lot of movement here. So, I'm going to have to let some C's go on this one and just like run through this thing at a sprint or whatever. It changes a little bit all the time, and you need to be flexible in your thinking and your shooting.
For sure.
So that's what I've been working on that, Joel.
Interesting and frustrating. I like the way you described it. I would say that's very accurate.
No, it is. It drives people fucking nuts. They go crazy when they're like, when somebody's a really good shooter and they're shooting a USPSA match, but they're, in B class, and not that B class is bad, but somebody might be really, really good at shooting, but they're in B class and then they're walking around like, oh man, I had a couple of C's over here. And if you're looking at their run from like outside the bay, you're just like, yeah, that dude's too slow. Well, that's the problem. He's getting wrapped up in this, like he wants it to be perfect kind of a thing. And it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Tyler, what have you been up to?
You've been winning matches, man.
That too.
You've been legitimately hurting people's feelings from what I can tell.
Yeah, well, like we discussed, that's always the goal. No, one thing I've been experimenting this year is having a more defined or conscious training cycle versus just, going out there and letting it rip. Cycles where there's a distinct experimentation phase versus like, getting prep for a match. Where I revert back to more fundamentals, just shooting alphas, shooting match pace. One interesting thing I set out to do in my 2019 training plan was I thought I would be super experimental in my dry fire and in my live fire and use dry fire for the boring, the typical stuff, L press, transitions. And what I found is I've been very plain Jane, very vanilla in my live fire, just getting down the fundamentals, the basics. But I've had such a good time in dry fire, trying new stuff, setting up mini stages, scenarios, just going crazy. If I think of it, I'll just set it up. I've also been doing a lot fewer runs on any one drill or any one arrangement of targets before I swap it out. I'm constantly swapping stuff out, keeping it fresh, challenging myself, trying to, I guess, the term that's come to mind is muscle confusion, but that's not right. But it's kind of interesting the way that has flip-flopped from the way I expected or planned it to be at the beginning of the year. But I've had a lot of fun. It's been good.
Nice.
All right. Gentlemen, there's one other thing that I kind of forgot to mention at the jump. And Joel's aware of this. Tyler, I don't think you are. We are in the early stages, the tentative stages. Not super tentative, though. I've got some proposed dates, which would be about a year from now. So late April is what we're looking at. Someplace in the middle of the country. We're talking to one range, and we'll see. But Tyler, what would you think about a training group summit?
I think that'd be fantastic.
So the deal would be, and obviously Honchik's so aware of it and likes it, and he's blocking out the time in his calendar if we can get to do it. So here's the vision. Basically a thing for training group members, not a money-making deal. People would just like pay the range and buy targets or whatever. The deal wouldn't be a money-making thing or like a big class, but it'd be where we get a bunch of guys together who who are shooting and training all the time, and there'd be some instruction like at certain times. I was thinking a kind of a spread out event depending on how many guys we get. So it might be like, hey, at this time on this range, Kim is doing this thing doing some grip thing. Maybe this time in this range, Joel's leading a practice session for we're doing doubles or whatever. And then other things where it's like, hey, I want to see this video, I want to see this content. And then we'll block out like a time for guys who want a certain thing to come and make it with us, make that content, other guys to present instructional material that they have or stuff they want worked on. That sort of thing, like a learning exchange.
Mm-hmm.
What do you say? Does that sound interesting, Tyler?
Oh yeah, sounds great.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, good. I like it.
So I'll start posting about it in the group once we get approval from the range, which might well be before people hear this. But it'll be just a thing for people who've been around in the training group for a while, for like the guys who've been on there a while, or annual members or whatever. We'll find a way just to block out people that buy a membership for a month to try to get into it. We'll find a way to get rid of them, but it'll be for the guys who train, the guys who really practice. It'll be for them. So yeah, would you want to go, Tyler? Would you want to be there?
I would definitely want to be there.
All right. See,
for sure.
We could have you like leading some practice session, like, hey, Tyler Turner's doing this, showing the Glock Hulk smash thing. I mean, like that's what I wanted to be a real event. Maybe we could have a mini match. Like right now,
I was gonna ask that.
Yeah. So kind of the sky's the limit. All I know is that it's not a commercial thing to try and. This is not the pro shooter experience. You know what I mean? It's not that.
I understand.
Yeah. Sharing information.
It's an information share, and what we get out of it is we'll tailor the content that goes into the group more for the people that are there. It'll be like-minded people getting together who like to train. It'll be guys presenting material that they have so other people can give them feedback on it. It'll be us presenting material. It'll be practice sessions if people want to do that. It'll be a mini match if people want to do that. It's kind of like we'll make it what we want to make it, but it'll just be an event for guys who like to get together and train. So yeah, that is the thing. And when I start posting about it in the group, I'm sure I'll get feedback from people who want to do it. If that range doesn't work out, or if a range in the central part of the country doesn't work out, we could always default to doing it in the Great White North, where I live, because my range will be amenable to it. But
you're not far from me. Sign me up.
But I'm far from everyone else, Joel.
Oh.
It's a super convenient airport, but for those who drive, it would be not great. So I think I'll bite the bullet. I'll travel for people. And yes, I've already blocked out time in my Like I'm organizing this now so that the time is booked out for next year. So this is,
What kind of duration? Like 3-4 days? What are you thinking?
I was thinking between 3 and 5, and depending on what people wanted, with like really big stuff happening on the weekend, and then if other guys wanted to come early and do other stuff, like maybe, so for example, maybe when it's less busy, it'd be some guys like, hey, I want to do this and this and this video. Like, I want to see this stuff. I want to do a stage breakdown thing. I want to get a video of this. We could do that on the less busy days, and then and also have like organized practice sessions, that sort of stuff. It just depends on how many people want to do it and what they want to do, and we'll find a way to accommodate as much of that as we can.
I think it's a great idea.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, I thought so too. Thought you'd like it.
Is my video back for you?
It is, yeah. Well, I mean, just imagine, you get to throw, I don't know, 5,000 rounds in the back of your car, drive someplace for a few days and just get better at shooting and learn some stuff and have some fun. You know, that's the plan. Well, all right. I think that's a good time to leave it. Listeners, if you have a question you'd like answered, shit, I forgot to do the guy's question, but we don't have enough time. If you'd have a question you'd like answered, go to benstecker.com, send me your question. If you have, I would say, thoughtful and intelligent feedback on how we should handle this presidential situation, I would like to hear about that.
How would you want them to contact you, sir?
Email.
I think it was worth mentioning. Don't
fucking IM me. Well, not if you want a thoughtful response, because people like send me like 7-paragraph shit on Facebook Messenger, and I click on that, the notification's gone, and I'm like, yeah, I'll get to that in like 12 hours, and I forget. So like email, it increases your odds of a thoughtful response if you email. It dramatically increases it. And Gmail started nudging me now. They're really good at nudging. Like if I forget to reply to an email that I got 2 days ago, it'll nudge it to the top and like, hey, dipshit, you didn't reply to this. So email is definitely better. All right.